Israel appear the Mount of the Lord, Mount Sinai. Approximately through Israel to the place where the bush had kept on burning. Here in the heart of the Sinai Peninsula, they are about to receive the Torah, the law of God. The recently liberated slaves eagerly anticipate their encounter with God. As one man with one heart, they take their places near the mount. Legend has it that while standing there and waiting, their backs, bent under the yoke of slavery, straightened up, their broken limbs healed, and their sad eyes lit up. And now that man meets his maker, the entire world holds its breath. A bird did not chirp. No fowl flew. A bull did not roar. The sea did not swell. And the universe was wrapped in stillness. Then the voice said, I am the Lord thy God. Thus begins the fateful appointment with destiny between the people of Israel and the God of the universe. The God who spoke to the fathers and promised them the land of Canaan now calls on their sons to go to the promised land. They shall go on, forever carrying with them the eternal law of life given to Moses on top of the mountain, anchored in the 10 Commandments, based on the faith in one God. For 40 years, the people wander in the wilderness. A new generation is born, unacquainted with slavery. At the end of this journey, Moses comes out of the desert into the plains of Moab and Mount Nebo, overlooking the promised land. From the top of the mountain, Moses sees the city of Jericho and the land of Canaan. But his fate, just like the fate of the others who came out of Egypt, had been sealed. Legend tells us that Moses pleaded with God to be among those who will see the dream fulfilled. He is ready to live in the land of Canaan, even in the form of a bush, a beast, a bird. But God would not listen. The leader stays with his people who perished in the wilderness. While he stands and pleads on the top of the mountain, his soul departs, and he whispers as he dies peacefully, When you enter the land of Canaan, remember me and my bones, and say, Woe to the son of Amram, who ran in front of us like a horse, yet his bones remained in the wilderness. The greatest of leaders dies, and the role falls to the man who was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands on him. Joshua, the son of Nun, is chosen by God to lead Israel into the promised land. Facing him on the way from the wilderness to Moab into Canaan is the walled-in city, Jericho, the city of dates, of eternal summer. Joshua's spies report that the residents of the city fear Israel. Blowing the shofar, the ram's horn, they surround her and close in with the Ark of the Covenant leading in front. On the 7th day of the siege, as the people shouted with a great shout and the priests blew the trumpets, the walls of Jericho fell down. And the first city in the promised land is taken by Israel. The road from Jericho leads inside the promised land. Joshua takes possession of Canaan and makes it the heritage of Israel. The tribe of Judah has its eyes and heart on Mount Hebron. The tribe destined to bring forth the kings of the house of David wants Hebron for its capital city, the city where the roots of the people had been planted. The city chosen by Abraham, father of the people of Israel. This was where Abraham forged his tie with the land promised him by God, where he buried his beloved wife Sarah in Hebron, in the cave of Machpelah. While weeping over her death, Abraham negotiates with the people of the land, the sons of Heth, to sell him a plot in Hebron to bury Sarah in it. The first act of possession in the promised land is transacted at the gate of the city in front of all the people, and with their full consent, for 400 pieces of silver. In this burial place, in the heart of Hebron, Abraham and his wife Sarah were buried. Isaac, son of Abraham, and his wife Rebekah. Even Jacob, who died in Egypt, makes his son Joseph promise to bring him to rest in his father's burial cave with his wife Leah. It was a symbol that even when the children of Israel live in a foreign land, the land of Israel remains their home. Hundreds of years ago, the entrance to the burial cave was blocked. Only a small opening was left through which burning candles could be dangled down to the sepulchres. The place has been shrouded in mystery. It has become fertile ground for legends and folklore, rich with miracles and wonders, scented with strange lights and divine voices. Those legends tell us that this is the cave where God buried Adam and Eve, that the road to the Garden of Eden starts in Machpelah. This is where all souls would pass on their way to heaven. This, in fact, is the gate of heaven through which enter all prayers and entreaties to God. The tribe of Judah succeeds in making Hebron, city of the fathers, into its capital. This is where David, son of Jesse, is anointed as king of Israel. Here he sat and reigned over all Israel for 7 years and 6 months, until his move to Jerusalem. On the road leading southward from Jerusalem to Hebron stands the tomb of Rachel. It is not only a symbol of the past, but a constant reminder of the promise of the final redemption to come. According to legend, burying his most beloved wife by the roadside, and not in Hebron, was a result of a vision that Jacob had. The children of Israel would pass by Rachel's tomb, going into exile. And there, the symbol of motherhood and compassion would rise and cry for her children's affliction. Only Rachel, who had known many sufferings in her lifetime, could overcome God's wrath. God would promise her that her children would be returned to Zion, as reported by the prophet Jeremiah. Thus saith the Lord, refrain thy voice from weeping, and thine eyes from tears. For thy work shall be rewarded. And they shall come again from the land of the enemy, and there is hope in thine end, that thy children shall come again to their own border. We have seen that the kingdom of the house of David was founded in Hebron, where Abraham bought a piece of land. This kingdom was later divided. The other kingdom of Israel was established in the town of Shechem, also known as Nablus, where Jacob, Abraham's grandson, bought a piece of land for his lot. Shechem and Hebron, the cities of the forefathers, played a decisive role in history even to this day. Here in Nablus, Shechem, Joseph had been sold by his brothers to a passing caravan. And to this place, the children of Israel carry his remains with them for burial when they leave Egypt. And when they reach the city where a heathen population worships clay idols and pagan images, in the process of acquiring the land, the tribes fulfill the command of their dead leader, Moses. The graven images of their gods shall ye burn with fire, for it is an abomination to the Lord thy God. Led by Joshua, they gather on the slopes of the Mount of Curse, Mount Ebal, and the Mount of Blessings, Mount Gerizim. They close in on the city. Across the valley, on the slopes of the two mountains, they renew their covenant with the law of Moses. The Levites read the demanding, "Thou shalt not," detailed in the Torah. From the top of both of the mountains, the voice of the tribes re-echo one after the other, "Amen, Amen, Amen." Ancient tradition points to this spot among the ruins of ancient Shechem as the tomb of Joseph. Jews would come to this site and pray for renewed redemption, that the Lord may gather the children of Israel from their lands of dispersion and bring them back to these mountains. As the prophet Jeremiah said, "Thou shalt plant vines upon the mountains of Samaria. He that scattered Israel will gather him and keep him as a shepherd doth his flock." Shechem was held sacred by the people of Israel only temporarily, as were other temporary centers, Bethel, Gibeon, and Shiloh. In Shiloh, where only a few ruins are left, lived Eli the priest. He served in the tent of the congregation, where the Ark of the Covenant, the altar, and the other sacred objects were kept. But Shiloh lost its sacred position and was forgotten when the Ark of the Covenant moved elsewhere. Finally, David took it and brought it up to the seat of his kingdom, the eternal capital of the people of Israel, Jerusalem. Like a queen surrounded by an honor guard, the holy city lies amongst the mountains, the Temple Mount, Mount Zion, the Mount of Olives. These mountains played hosts to historical events, and they are destined to harbor divine, wondrous events at the end of days. Oil from the olives growing on the Mount of Olives was used to anoint high priests and mighty kings. That same oil would be used to anoint the King Messiah. It's from the top of the Mount of Olives that the Messiah will blow his trumpet to announce the final redemption of Israel and all humanity, the rising of the dead, and the gathering of all people from the four corners of the earth to acknowledge God's kingdom in Jerusalem. To create the unbroken bond between Jerusalem, the sacred city, and the temple, Jews had ordered that they be buried on the Mount of Olives. The mount is filled with tens of thousands of graves, tombstones to identify those buried under them, and to bear witness to the unending, boundless yearning for Jerusalem. And to their hope that a day shall come when the dead shall rise and sing the glory of the Lord. A king's temple, city of royalty. Thus are Jerusalem and the mountains around her. On top of Mount Zion, the tomb of King David, King of Israel, alive and everlasting. Three times a day, Jews pray to God to build Jerusalem, the holy city, soon in our days, and may our eyes witness your merciful return to Zion. Two requests, two hopes, the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem and the renewal of the kingdom of the house of David on Mount Zion. These prayers, carried inside the hearts of the children of Israel, gave the Jewish people the strength to survive fires and furnaces, tortures and tribulations, and to continue to sing, David, King of Israel, he's alive and everlasting. And the Jewish people knew that David's candle would never be snuffed out, and they pray every Sabbath and every holiday, soon he shall come and gladden our hearts. On his seat no stranger would sit, and his pride would not be possessed by others. For in thy holy name you swore that his candle shall never be extinguished. Between the royal Mount of Zion and the messianic Mount of Olives lies the Temple Mount. In the center is the rock, which according to tradition is the Eben Hashatiyah, the foundation rock, center of the world. Legends tell us that the land of Israel is the center of the earth. Jerusalem is the center of the land. The Temple Mount is the center of Jerusalem, and in its center is the Eben Hashatiyah. According to legend and tradition, this ancient and sacred rock was the site of the sacrifice brought by Cain and Abel to God. This was the site of the altar built by Noah after he came out of the ark in the wake of the flood. Here, Abraham bound his only son, Isaac, ready to sacrifice him to God. The chosen site of the temple was not Mount Sinai, where God's law was given to the world. It was this Temple Mount. The sages learned from this choice that the moment of utter devotion, when as Isaac, man is ready to die for his faith, is more significant than the whole Torah. The temple. All his days, King David was eager to fulfill his heart's desire, to build God's temple. But this assignment had been intended for his son, King Solomon, who recruited the best artists and artisans. Tens of thousands of workers labored for 7 years until the task was completed. The scriptures vividly describe all the splendor and magnificence of the temple. It was built of whole stones hewn out of the side of the mountain. The roof and the gates were covered with cedar wood and cypress. The walls were plated with pure gold, ornamented with decorations and precious stones. The crowning beauty of the temple stands in its western end, the Holy of Holies, which is entirely gold-plated. The Ark of the Covenant and the Kaporet, the mercy seat, over which two golden cherubim spread their wings. This is where the tablets of the covenant received on Mount Sinai were kept. Solomon's temple stood for 400 years, until Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, laid siege to Jerusalem. He completely destroyed the city and burnt the temple. Two generations later, the hope of return to Zion became reality. The Persian kings who conquered Babylon looked favorably upon Jewish longings to return to Zion. The Jerusalemites feel tremendous excitement as they return to rebuild the temple. Despite disturbances and sabotage, the work is accomplished, and with great exhilaration, the temple is dedicated. But the second temple, too, is destroyed. Led by Titus, the Roman legions suppressed the Jewish revolt against their rule. On the 9th day of the month of Av in the year 70 CE, the Romans break into the temple and burn it down. The sacred objects and the prisoners captured alive are led in triumphal procession to Rome. The city of David has been destroyed, razed to the ground, except for one remnant. The last vestige of the temple, the western wall surrounding the Temple Mount, was left for us. It stands solid and firm, a symbol of the fate of the people, a people almost destroyed, whose remnants continue to anticipate the day of restored divine glory. Foreigners ruled the city for many years, yet the people never stopped praying near the wall. Lamentations were intoned here, and tears were shed, and people called it the Wailing Wall. Little by little, and with patience and care, ancient mementos from the bygone days of the city of David are excavated and brought to light. Among the finds, at the base of the wall around the Temple Mount, a stone bears the inscription from Isaiah. "And ye shall see, and your heart shall gladden, and your bones will flower like grass." Israel, modern and spectacular, draws from the roots of Jewish history in the land of Israel. A new light that carries ancient names: the Golan and the Negev, Judea and Samaria, Safed and Katzrim, Tiberias and Jaffa, Beersheba and Masada, Sdom and the Dead Sea, Ophir and the Red Sea. is the long and tortuous road traveled by the Jewish people, a journey that has been going on for thousands of years. Here on this historic road, through the length and breadth of the Promised Land, the people of Israel continue to stride on the trail blazed by our ancestor Abraham at the dawn of history.